Hi, Christos Paloukas here from Pressidium Managed WordPress Hosting, coming in from my own home this time. I'm here today with Michelle Frechette. Hi, Michelle. Do you want to introduce yourself? Although I don't know if you need to.
I know a lot of people know me, but not everybody knows me. Yep, sure. I'm Michelle Frechette. I am the Director of Community Engagement for StellarWP. I am the Executive Director of Post Status, and I do just a lot of things with WordPress and a lot of voluntary time with the open source project.
Cool. That was a really brief interview for the busiest woman in WordPress.
I know that was funny when Matt Mullenweg at WordCamp US 2022 called me the busiest woman in WordPress, and I was like, could we just change that and say maybe most productive person? Because busiest doesn't actually accomplish anything. But no, I didn't say that. So
No, fair enough. How did that feel, out of curiosity, before we get into the questions?
yeah, it was it felt good. It felt like I felt seen, right? So it was like, oh, Matt Mullenweg knows who I am and he's aware of the work that I do in the community. And that felt good. Yeah.
I could imagine that level of
Yeah.
acknowledgement.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you probably deserved it. I think you did.
I mean, thank you. I try to help people as much as possible. So, and that's kind of where I approach WordPress with how can I do things that will leave an impact for other people to be able to continue to do the work and encourage people into the space and what they do.
I think it shows just
Oh,
between
good.
us.
Glad. I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
Well, having mentioned WordPress and all those projects, I'm gonna segue into our first question. It's the three
Okay.
Q interview, so there's three primary questions. The first question
Perfect.
is, out of all the projects and initiatives you've been involved in, which ones do you think stand out, personally, and are the most rewarding or impactful?
Sure. So, I think that the work that I do, that I did with Ali Nimmons and that I now do with Saman Nasser at underrepresentedintech.com, to me is some of the most meaningful work that I do. We have a directory for people who want to be found for work, for podcasts, for blog posting, whatever, right? And anybody who's an underrepresented person can ask to join that blog, or I'm sorry, that directory. And we vet people, right? So you are never put out on the directory as somebody who is a specific underrepresented case, right? So like I'm a woman, I'm disabled. You can't tell by looking at me on a screen that I'm disabled, right? But in the directory, it doesn't say, and she's disabled, right? It just says that she's underrepresented. So you will, for example, see white men in that directory because white men can be underrepresented in different cases too, right? They could be part of the LGBTQ community. They can be disabled. They can be neurodivergent, right? So there's ways that people can be underrepresented that aren't physically seen. And so we have that there, which people have found jobs, people have found opportunities, and that makes me very happy. But we
Definitely.
also have a podcast there that we record every week, and we talk about some pretty hard hitting things. We talk about ways that underrepresented people are ostracized. We talk about ways that people are like we recorded this morning. It'll be out on Friday about biases that people hold that they're not even aware of, and how you can sometimes judge somebody without even realizing you're judging them by the color of their skin or by the fact that they're male or female and those kinds of things. And so, how can we as people start to recognize our own biases so that they don't happen and that we aren't unintentionally putting somebody in a box or prejudiced against them because of those things. And so the work that we do with that and the podcast that we put out with that, I think is some of the best stuff that I'm able to do in our community, which is raise other people up and elevate voices of underrepresented folks. And if I can do that, I think that that's something that's very worthy. I often have said, like to my daughter, to other friends, I don't care if after the day after I die, if nobody ever remembers my name, as long as the work that I do continues to have impact. It doesn't have to have my name associated with it, but I want the things that I do in this world and in this life to continue on to help others as much as possible. So if I've set those kinds of things in motion, let's hope that that's the legacy that I leave, whether it has my name on it or not.
I think you're on the right track for that. Plus the whole like educational thing behind helping people identify their biases is sounds really hard. Like even as an underrepresented person myself, I find myself accidentally offending people or not actually thinking about some sort of thing that would bother me when I would hear it as opposed to me saying it to someone else.
Yeah,
It does happen. I screw up all the time, to be honest. Quite good
I
at
do
calling it.
too.
But
Especially like I talk about this all the time. Like I'm 56 years old, so it takes me a little bit longer to ingrain things. I've had 56 years to learn the wrong way to do things, which means that I have to undo 56 years as opposed to somebody in their 20s who doesn't have as much, time that they have to undo adult thinking. But with non-binary people using they them pronouns, I want to do it right and I will still mess it up if I knew you before you started using they them pronouns, because it's in my head that you are not they them. And I have to constantly correcting myself and striving to do better because I want to honor people who they are. And so those are the kinds of things that I try to work on. But I make mistakes all the time and I ask for forgiveness because
yeah,
part of growth is mistakes. Part of growth is seeking forgiveness when you've offended somebody.
definitely. And understanding should come from both sides too. So
Yeah,
you ask
absolutely.
forgiveness and you should be granted it, I guess, under some sort of
Yeah, most people are happy that you're catching yourself and wanting to move forward in a positive way. And um, I'm grateful for the grace that I've been given in those situations. Absolutely.
it's all about love at the end of the day. Just loving
I
people,
agree.
just being
Yeah,
kind,
absolutely.
actually
Hmm.
caring. Which is hard. I mean, I say it like it's nothing at all, but they're doing it
Yeah.
right. Whew.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
well, all that little spiel about the underrepresented groups kind of segues into the second question really well.
Okay, nice.
We all know, and it just got verified again for one more time, that you're an advocate for the underrepresented groups in technology.
Hmm.
With all your efforts, what changes have you seen in the WordPress space regarding diversity, inclusion, equity, belonging, those things that we all love? Uh,
Yeah.
what have you seen, and what still needs to be done is the second part of the question.
Yeah. What's interesting is I shared an article with a person yesterday, and they said to me, "Seriously, this that like it was an article about bias, and it was an article about somebody's specific experiences as a person of color in their workspace." And this person said to me, "Are you kidding? That's still happening?" And I thought, yes, you're a white man, so of course you don't see it happening because you don't feel it directed at you. But I said, absolutely, as a woman, I'm not even a person of color, but as a woman, those things happen to me, right? And so what's really exciting is to see it's baby steps, first of all. It's not like somebody comes up and says, "Hey, we all need to be equal," and everybody goes, "Yeah, you're right, let's just all do it," right?
I wish.
Um, I know, but it's baby steps. And so, but I have seen some things like that happen, right? So, Black Press became a thing several years ago, and there's a Slack channel for Black Press, and there's a website for Black Press, and there's meetups, and there's online meetups, and there's opportunities for people in the Black community and WordPress and the Black diaspora, I think is the right word. I always say it wrong, to help one another and to have allies like me pave ways and make sure that people are paying attention as well. And so I've often advocated for more opportunities for people of color and underrepresented people to be on stages at WordCamps and things like that. As a result of my being the loud crazy person sometimes, we've actually seen some of that. There's a lot more attention being paid to the fact that it isn't just a bunch of white men or white men and a couple of token women on stage at WordPress events now, right? So we're seeing, is it 100% even? Is it equal? I mean, no, there's always work to be done. You can't just assume it's going to keep going. You have to be intentional about how you do things like that. And so, but we're seeing a little bit more of that, right? So, and we're seeing more underrepresented people having a place in the WordPress community and taking ownership of areas that they can absolutely run with, and allies seeking to make spaces for people in underrepresented communities as well. And so I'm really happy about that. I'm happy that some of the work I've done has, not just me, there are so many people who have done so much work, of course. But I'm really happy that I've had a part in helping and being an ally to people to be able to stake a bigger claim in the WordPress community.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've ignited a lot of that in the community, from what I've seen, at least from what I follow. My
I mean,
public-
others lit the fire. Others lit the fire. I've just been helping stoke it, I think.
Oh, that's good. I hope it keeps going.
Yeah. Me too.
So the second part of the question, what else needs to be done?
Right. I think that we can't just rest on our laurels, right? So we need people every year, every day, continuing to advocate. There needs to be education around why biases still exist and how we can overcome them in different communities. And part of that is having people continue to say the things that I'm saying, that Sama is saying, that Ali has said, that Nyesha has said, things that people say. We need to continue to elevate those voices so that we hopefully will see even more equality for people. One of the things that Sama brought up today when I was having conversation with her is something called Equal Pay Day. So, for example, in the United States, a woman with the same job as a man has to work almost 50 days into the next year for the same salary that the man made before. So women are still making like 73 cents for every dollar that a man makes. And don't quote me on the specifics because I'm pulling things out of the top of my head, but it's somewhere around there. And so is that yeah, we're seeing more women in the workspaces, but they're still not being paid equal to the pay that men with the same sets of skills are making. And so there's still more work to be done for that kind of equality. We're seeing more women in the workplace, but we're not seeing more women and more people of color in, let's say, or underrepresented people, all underrepresented people in the C-suite. We're not seeing them in director positions. And so that's something that WP includes.me, which is a project by Siobhan and Francesca. That's a mentorship program for women in leadership positions to mentor women who want leadership positions and to grow up in that. So we need more opportunities like those to to impact the future and to make more room for people, for more diversity at the top level, not just bringing people in at the bottom level of community.
Right.
So we shouldn't see our women and underrepresented folks only doing support work, for example. We should see those people also holding positions of authority when they apply for positions of authority and they're also qualified for those positions.
They're definitely damn capable.
Yeah, exactly. And so why are we not hiring people who are capable? Because we have unconscious bias. That's why.
Gender bias, culture bias, gender.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
exactly.
funny too is I live in Greece, right? I've lived in Greece for the past since 2012. How many years is that? 12 years.
12 years. I can't do math. Sorry. No, 12. You're right. You were right. Okay. Almost 13. Almost 13.
Almost 13, right in the middle. So we were close.
Yeah.
Maybe in the node. And lots of Greek people find it amazing that I tell them that there's not really that much racism here, like by race, as opposed to the States, especially between white and black people. And when I would tell them that, I would say I'm from Chicago. I was born and raised outside of Chicago, Burbank, Illinois. I would tell them that, and they'd tell me, but everyone's black there. Most of the people are black in those neighborhoods, aren't they? And I'd say, yeah, but there's really a huge problem with racism going on, especially between white and black people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, Greece is a country too. I think they're by default geared towards being feminist at heart, but there are a lot of cisgender men who either won't accept it or won't let that come outwards, because it's not a matriarchy. I won't say Greece is a matriarchy, but in the heart of most Greek homes is mom. Mom is usually the boss.
Yep, and grandma.
Definitely grandma, especially as far as you go north in the, I don't know, Epirus, Greece. Women are in charge. For the most part, men, I'm not getting involved in that conversation right now.
Okay.
It's gonna get political, but there is a joke that I will share with you. There's conscription in Greece for the military, so all male boys above the age of 18 are obligated to at least show up for recruitment, you can get out of it. It's really easy to get out of it too. They're considered volunteers at a certain point. So most people do try, some people do try to get out of it, and they do successfully without many repercussions. There were repercussions in the past. Anyway, ADHD keeps me going. The joke is that the strongest power in the Greek military is a Greek mom.
I believe it.
A Greek mom.
Yeah.
Yes. Whether you have to do
That's
with
good.
like an officer or just someone who's there for their conscription, a simple soldier.
Yep, exactly. How funny.
Let's move on to the last question.
Okay.
You do a lot. You do a lot, and you say it really well too. It's really easy for you to communicate what you do. I would have trouble just communicating everything that you actually accomplish, which I hope you keep doing, and I hope you're always
Thank
well
you.
to keep doing it too. So between work, that is podcasting, blogging, advocacy efforts, everything
And my
else
full-time job.
exactly, multiple full-time jobs, and if that. How do you stay organized, maintain your energy between all that stuff, and find the work-life balance?
Okay, so I'm not so good at the work-life balance part because I'm a single woman living with 2 cats, right? And so I find things to do to fill my time, but I'm also a disabled person. So getting out of the house is not as simple. To go for a drive, absolutely. But to go shopping or something like that, it's not as simple as it might be for others because I do need some assistance. And so I find things to do that are in my home. And so podcasting is one of those things. So I love doing those podcasts and recording and talking to people and those kinds of things. I also love photography. So like you can see in the background here, this is all my photography. And what I love about that is I don't have to get out of the car. So all of the pictures behind me were taken from my car, right? Just sitting in my car, take a picture with my cameras and then get home and edit them. I've also recently, during lockdown in 2020, bought my first Lego set. And now I have like, I don't know, 20 Lego sets that I'm working on right now. I'm working on Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. And so those are things that I do to try to keep myself not sitting in front of a computer in the evenings, for example. But but as a woman oh my gosh, I'll send you pictures later of some of my recent Lego sets. But you know, as a person in their 50s who lives alone, I find that for me, this is one thing I will say, work-life balance doesn't always mean that you have to step away from work and work like things to find balance. Because for me, podcasting is a hobby. For me, working on the WordPress photo directory is a hobby. Those are not work things. They happen to fall within the realm of the industry that I work in. But those are things that I absolutely 100% enjoy. They're not things that are assigned to me. They're not things I have to do. And so for me, that is part of work-life balance, right? To be able to do those things. For me, the work-life balance is at 5 o'clock, I walk away from my day job. If I'm not at a WordCamp or something like that, right? Or doing a webinar like every once in a while, right? But for the most part, Monday through Friday, I'm at my desk from 9 to 5. And at 5 o'clock, I go do something else. Whether that's something that's my own, like keeping up WPSpeakers.com or doing an interview with somebody for one of my podcasts, I still consider that my time. And that's part of my balance, is because that's social for me to be able to talk to those people. But sometimes I just hit the couch at 5 o'clock and I play computer games on my phone. I do crossword puzzles and the daily Wordle and those kinds of things and text with friends. There are a certain number of television shows that I, watch every week. I couldn't even tell you what night they're on because I just stream things, right? So I go online. I'm like, oh, there it is. I'll watch that. So it's just, for me, work-life balance is striking the right balance for things that won't overtax my body, right? So sitting in front of a computer for too long overtaxes my body, which is why laying on the couch is so wonderful at the end of the day. Doesn't overtax my brain in a way that I end up feeling anxious or even having anxiety attacks about things that are like looming and those kinds of things. Because it can happen. I have depression, anxiety. I deal with all those things. Yeah, but also just feeling really good at the end of the day that what I've accomplished and what I've done for myself, for others, and for my work felt good. It felt right, and I didn't feel overtaxed in any one way, shape, or form. As far as organization, I live by my calendar. Like if it's not on the calendar, I probably don't remember to do it, which is why when somebody says, "Hey, can we get together? When are you free?" I send them a calendar link because if they sign up on my calendar, I put the responsibility on them, right? Plus, I really suck at time zones. Like if you said UTC, I would probably still put it on my calendar at the wrong time. So if I put my calendar in your hands, then I know that I'll show up when I'm supposed to be someplace, whether it's online or in person, because I live by my calendar. And pads of paper that just have all kinds of information at the end of the day I've just written down notes and things, get put in the right places, and I write down things. I put things where they need to be online based on the notes that I've created, whether that's sending somebody an email with the information or not. So yeah, so I try to keep a tidy workspace because if it starts to get cluttered, I start to feel cluttered. My brain starts to feel cluttered. So I keep a tidy workspace and live by my calendar.
I have some work to do.
But the way one person organizes is not and works for them is not necessarily the way that another person organizes and works for them. I've tried things like Asana. I've tried things like Trello and Todoist and all of those different ways. And I don't do well with those because I'll forget to do things that are on the list. I'll forget to go look at the list. My ADHD can't handle that kind of a list. But if I have a running thing on paper where I can't ignore it because it's sitting on my desk for the next day, it's going to get done. And so that's the way I have to live. And I make the mistake sometimes of checking Slack when I'm not at my desk. And then I'll read something and I'll be like, how am I going to remember to go do that tomorrow? So I take a screenshot and send it to myself. So the next day I'll see it and remember to do those things. So yeah, so it's not always easy. And like I said, it might not work for you, but it works for me. And I managed to stay on the tightrope while I'm still juggling things.
I could imagine. I mean, as a hyperactive, over-analytic type ADHDer myself, so the visual representation of something helps me not forget it, but then
right,
task paralysis seeps in. And it's like, oh
yeah,
no.
I mean, I get that too.
How do I start? I do have a very supportive team at Pressidium, not gonna lie. Like super supportive. That they do push me in the right direction most of the time. Well, every time I asked, they did. The other times I would just hide and not ask.
I understand.
Yeah. I'd love to start something ADHD oriented as like a sub community. We're already discussing something like that with another strong woman member of the community. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, nice. I won't tell. You'll tell me who after we stop recording.
Maybe I won't.
Maybe not. I don't know. No, but it's like it's like when you try to put a bunch of ADHD people or ADD people in one room together, will we even show up? Oh. That's the question. Will we remember to be there?
No, it's so typical. There's actually like a Slack channel that is committed to that. The big orange heart on their Slack, and it's funny. It's funny as hell because like I don't know. I mentioned doing something with the other person. Or actually, the other person chased after me for that to happen, and I would put it off from week to week to week to week. And I would just sit there looking at the Slack channel, thinking, I know
I
what
should
the
do something about that.
is. I know what the problem. We're all the problem.
As Taylor Swift says, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Exactly. It makes perfect sense. But I think it's going to happen. I don't know.
Good.
Because of this whole like exposure thing with me getting involved with the podcasting. I'm so totally new, but it's very stimulating. And
yeah.
See, I did it. I segued into my
It's a lot of fun. Stuff. It's okay. That's what conversations are about. Conversations are about two people having conversation, not just you asking questions and me answering them. So we can have conversation and it makes it more interesting.
It does intellectual discourse after the actual answer of the question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, to make a final point about what you said before about the stopping at 5 o'clock, like actually committing to that, coming from a personal standpoint, how do you do that? Like, okay, it's amazing that you have encompassed if you make your hobby your job, then you never work a day in your life. You've encompassed that. It shows. How do you say it's 5? I have to go. Oh, because you live by your calendar.
I live with my cat, but also I have sciatica. And so my left leg sitting in a desk chair all day is killing me. So I watch the clock so that at 5 o'clock I can go lay down and take the pressure off of my sciatic nerve. So maybe can I swear on here? It's a pain in the ass, right? Literal pain in the ass. Like where I'm sitting hurts. So at 5 o'clock, I'm like, I don't have to sit here anymore. I can go do something someplace else. And so it's a good reminder. If you got to be in pain, I guess at least it's a reminder to get up and walk away from your desk sometimes.
Physical pain is a great motivator sometimes.
I mean, I'm still looking to get rid of the pain, but yes, at least right now it's motivating me to walk away from my desk at the end of the day. Cool. I also have 2 cats that want to be fed, and they will remind me. So
we have 2 cats too. I love them. One of them had their sterilization 3 days ago.
Oh, okay.
And everything is going well. No signs of infection. But with the cone on her head, she's not really good at pooping in the litter
box.
Yeah, kind of goes everywhere.
Can't judge your spatial recognition is a little out there then. Yeah.
It's just like 5 more days left of the cone.
And then you can get back to normal.
I really hope so. She's a great cat.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about my cats, not on the podcast.
We'll talk about later.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I think my advice to people is always, if you want to be involved, get involved. Sometimes the difficult task in WordPress is knowing where to start when you want to get involved. And talking to people in the community is a great way to do that. If you want to be part of a release squad, somebody like me or you can direct people to where to go to look for that information. If you want to take pictures and contribute them to the WordPress photo directory, but you're really not sure how or what would qualify, talk to people. Find people who are part of that project, and there's thousands of people have submitted photos there. Talk to them, ask them why. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, no matter how much you think that they are touchable or untouchable, right? So I've discovered that there are people who think that I'm too much of a celebrity, and I hate that word, but too much of a celebrity that they're afraid to come talk to me, at WordCamp because they're shy, maybe, right? Okay. So what did I do? I came up with this Michelle and Me selfie challenge because it made me approachable. Everybody wants to help. And so now they come up and they take a picture with me and I get to say hello and ask them who they are and those kinds of things where maybe they were too shy to talk to a stranger before, or especially somebody they've seen online. And so, but everybody's approachable. Everybody wants to help. We don't always have time, right? I get asked at least 10 times a week if I will help somebody in particular find a job. And I don't have time to be a job concierge for people, right? Like I can't do that. I put out a job listing every week. It's up to you to find the job. I can't be somebody's headhunter. I don't have the time to do that. And so I have to say no. And it's not easy for me to say no. I'm a people pleaser, but I have to say no because I don't have the time. And so, but people ask, right? And so you can always ask. And if somebody isn't able to help you, they'll tell you so. But most of us will say, oh, talk to this person, or this is the link for that. And we can help you get involved, because if you want to be involved, you should be involved. And WordPress is very open to that. We're just not really good about telling people where and how to start.
Yeah, sometimes it's a rabbit hole, but someone will send you somewhere, and they might send you to someone else in the continuation of it. Yeah. But eventually you do find what you're
they'll put you on the path. That's right. Exactly.
Plus, you have to be a little, from my experience, which isn't much at all, you have to be a little adamant about it. Like, if you don't get a response in a couple of days, you have to ask again. It might be a bit embarrassing. I'm kind of shy sometimes too. You just ask again. And
most of us are volunteers, right? So you have to take it in mind that people who are volunteers have full-time jobs elsewhere, and sometimes we can't respond right away. But give it some time, and like you said, be adamant in your pursuit, and somebody will help you.
But okay, the celebrity thing, I'd be kind of shy too. I didn't know who you were when I first met you. I just saw the purple hair and I was like, oh, purple hair, blue hair.
I loved that. Yep, I know, it's great, right?
I knew who you were, and I was like, oh, this woman is amazing. I want to learn more about her. So I asked around at that same WordCamp. It was WordCamp Europe, I think, in Athens. And I was like, who's that woman? They're like, Michelle. I was like, Michelle? Who's Michelle? They're like, you don't know Michelle? I was like, no. And then I learned who Michelle was.
I love it.
But you're
That's
definitely
awesome.
approachable. People should know that you're approachable.
And most people in my situation are, right? So most people, if you recognize them from this podcast or that YouTube video or whatever, we're all just people. We all, exist in our own lives like you do. And so like you, the person who's shy kind of thing. And so yeah, just
totally agree.
We're all just people. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have for you from my side. If
Awesome.
anyone wants to get in touch with you, they can find you just about anywhere, can they?
Yeah, but if you go to meetmichelle.online is like a link tree that I've created. So all my links to all my socials, a lot of my projects are right there at meetmichelle.online, and you can get in touch with me there.
Great. I'll put that in the video notes for anyone that wants to say hello.
Sweet. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
for
much
having me.
this.
Yeah, this is awesome. It's been great talking to you. Yeah,
Totally.
I agree.
I had fun. It's totally stimulating.
Awesome. Yeah, I loved it. Thank you.
Similar like it in the future.
I would love that for sure.
Cool.
Awesome.
I think it's time to say bye.
Okay. Bye everybody.
Bye, everyone.